Welcome everyone, Tina from Target Tamers. Today we're going to talk about spotting scopes versus binoculars. Let me be clear, there are no hard and fast rules here. User preference drives many of our choices, whether it be for the hunt, for birding, target shooting, and more. So let's go over some of the primary differences between a spotting scope and a binocular. The most obvious difference is magnification. You have binoculars that cover a huge range from 6 and 7 times to 15, 18, 20 times magnification. Then you have spotting scopes which pick up where binoculars leave off. So here's a zoom comparison video of different magnifications just for you to get a quick idea of the differences between binoculars and a low compact spotting scope. Now let's talk about portability. Obviously, binoculars are going to have the upper hand on that. They're made to be used freehand. They're going to be easier to handle out in the field given their compact form. Now, some small and compact spotting scopes can come in lighter than your 15, 18 times binoculars. We have a 15 to 45 by 65 compact spotting scope over here, really made to be tripod mounted for the best of image stability, and it's also got a little bit of heft to it. But the same can be true of 15 times, 18 times binoculars. They also need to be tripod mounted, and they can come heavier than your other compact spotting scope alternatives. So when it comes to size and weight, as far as these big binoculars and spotting scopes, it's kind of a moot point there because you're going to have to tripod mount either of them anyway. Now, larger spotting scopes, 20 to 80 times with 80mm objective lenses, and even those with the interchangeable lenses, you're probably getting really activity specific when you're getting that big, so you definitely know what you're going to be using it for at that point. At least with binoculars, you can wear them with neck straps, you can wear them on a chest harness. With the spotting scopes, you've either already got them mounted to your tripod and you're carrying it that way in the field, or it's going into your backpack, say if you're out day hiking, and then you pull it out and mount it for when you want to use it. So in that respect, the binoculars have the advantage of always being constantly ready to be used in an instant, whereas it takes just a little bit more work with a spotting scope. Plus you have the added weight and having to take a tripod out with you in the field. But for those who also take along the big size binoculars, you're no stranger to having a tripod with you anyway. Hunting, really user preference here. Right off the bat, if you're in the tree stand, if you're bow hunting, a high-powered binocular and a spotting scope isn't going to do much use for you there. You'll definitely want something like a 7 times, 8 times, 10 times magnification binocular for you for that. Now, if we're talking about open fields, big country, brush country, basins, ridge lines, you can definitely benefit from having big binoculars or a spotting scope with you for those extended ranges and to pick apart details, measure before you decide you want to go after that target. Great asset for you in those fields. Birdwatching binoculars with 8 times, 10 times magnification is the norm for that activity. I won't lie though, having higher powered 15 times magnification, even using a spotting scope, can provide a very rewarding experience. The higher magnification allows you to get close-up detail and to really study those bird species. Now, what it's not so good for is when it's tripod mounted. It makes it difficult to be able to use it, especially when you're following birds. Has a narrow field of view, but if you're setting up in a permanent spot like at home, on your porch, or you don't mind going somewhere and setting yourself up and staying put, it could really be a benefit there, but I would definitely keep a compact pair of binoculars on hand for that wider field of view and to follow those birds. Now at the target range, I'm accustomed to seeing a line of spotting scopes all down the entire line. Mine is usually in there right there with everyone else's, although I do tend to take a spare pair of binoculars for the poor fellow who didn't bring anything with them. Really though, your rifle scope should be able to see groupings out to 100, 200 yards. That way you don't need either a spotting scope or binoculars with you, but the norm is definitely to take a compact spotter with you and you're good to go. Events and concerts. Binoculars are the norm for events, parades, concerts, things like that. 7 times magnification is a great power, gives you enough to be able to follow those acts and those floats with a huge field of view. But it really can depend on what you're watching and where you are. Sometimes you just might need the higher power of a compact spotting scope to be able to watch that yacht race out on the seas, to follow the action closer. So really, again, user preference, no hard and fast rules right here. Now, astronomy, any optic can get you sights on the moon, but if you want to be able to see the moons of Jupiter, the rings on Saturn, you're going to need lots of magnification and a really nice big objective lens. If you're going to want to digiscope any of that, you're going to need a motorized equatorial mount, long exposure camera and software. So really anything beyond just looking at the moon, you may as well get a telescope to do the job properly. Target tamers, talk time. I just made that up so I could go on for a minute. And I want to go on about hunting specifically. So you either fall into I'm a spotting scope person or I'm not a spotting scope person camp. And for those who don't fall into the spotting scope camp, I found that you're usually carrying 10s on you. And then you've got a 15 or 18 times magnification binocular topped on top of a tripod. Now that's a great combo right there. You've got a few advantages. You've got both low power and high power optics with you. You've also got binocular vision on all of your optics, so you're delaying that onset of eye strain and eye fatigue that usually would come quicker with using a binocular for long periods of time. And you could also argue that you're saving a little bit on weight, especially up against those full-size, bigger spotting scope options out there. Now, the only drawback is that you're limited to having fixed magnification, so you can't zoom in when you really want it if you need it at all. Now, those that do carry a spotting scope already know that they have the benefits of having low power optic on you. And then you have the higher magnification for when you really want to zoom up close and personal. You can pick apart details, measure, decide whether that's a direction or that's a herd that you're after before you decide to start hiking that way. Now we're talking about disadvantages that come in with things like mirage. You can't control that. We've also got, you start to lose a lot of light at max power, and the eye box can become super tight and unforgiving. And not all hunting scenarios are compatible with a spotting scope. Both high-powered binoculars and spotting scopes should be tripod mounted. Now that really highlights how it is really user preference driven as to what high-powered optic you choose. And it is my recommendation that you always have a low-powered binocular with you to pair with your high-powered optic for those wide fields of view, freehand use, and great image stability. Obviously, it needs to be mentioned that not all optics are created equal. You can't compare a Swarovski SLC 15x56 to the Carson Everglade 15 to 45 by 60 spotting scope. Glass matters. High magnification isn't always everything. But when you do need high magnification, and if you need 7 reasons to pick out a spotting scope over binocular, check out the link to our argument on that down below. Not every optic is made to do everything. It's about finding the combo or the pair that works for you. So let us know what side of the fence you fall in our comments below. As always, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and get outside.